It's your boy Nextstop Sirchcity. Welcome back to another episode of the Food We Watch podcast. This is episode 49. Yo, we've been doing this for almost 50 episodes. Now I know what you're saying. It hasn't been consistently 50 episodes, but when you stick to something, yeah, you may have to take some breaks in the meantime, but if you stick to something, you will see the growth. We have seen a little growth. That's what she said on the podcast. Shout out to those followers who have been consistently watching over the course of the last year. Definitely has been an adventure. We are definitely thinking of ways to enhance the podcast, be more interactive. So just stick with us. And in the meantime, between time, we're going to get it cracking. All right, real quick, as you know, my name is Nextstop Sirchcity, and we are a podcast that review cooking shows from the likes of Gordon Ramsay, Hell's Kitchen, Kitchen Nightmares, things of that nature, to anything we may see on Amazon Prime or Netflix, any kind of streaming platforms. We like to review the cooking shows, something new, something different. So if you have a cooking show that is your favorite, please let us know in the comments. What cooking show would you like us to review? All right. Hopefully we can get to the point where we have a following where we do like live watch days where we actually watch a cooking show live and then we can come on here and discuss it. We're getting to that now. Again, we're trying to grow it. Before we get started, it is that time of the year. We have gone through summer. Summer is nearing an end. And guess what time that is? Guess what's about to go down? Some may actually be going through it right now. School season is upon us. Now, I'm 37. I haven't had a school year in at least 15 years. So I was just sitting here thinking like, wow, like I remember being a kid. I remember mid to late August coming, and then my mom is like, all right, this is the time of the summer where it's still light at 9 o'clock, but your mom said you got to go to bed because you got to start getting ready for them school hours. I literally was sitting here like, wow, that used to be a lifestyle. You used to have like 2 good months of summer, then August will come, and next thing you know, you're seeing back to school signs for deals and clothes or uniforms. I had to wear uniforms off and on, and it's just like it brought back that nostalgia. I don't miss it. That's not a part of the childhood that I miss, but it's just like, wow, just taking the time to think like, yo, a good 20 years ago, I literally was sitting here, a junior in high school, and just like, this is the time of the year. Like I was on that schedule to where it was like, okay, summertime, fun time, but August comes and yeah, it's time to get back to work. Now as an adult, there is no summertime. It is work. And then, as Rihanna was saying. So, just wanted to throw that out there. I know some parents, some of you kids, if you're a kid and you're watching this, you are already back in school. My son is going to college, first year of college. We'll be dropping him off this weekend. So by the time you watch this, this Wednesday evening, and we are dropping this episode a little later than norm on Wednesday. So I do apologize for that. We had some stuff going on. I got my son going to school, going to college, and I have my daughter going into high school. So we're just trying to get a lot of things done. So again, do apologize for that, but you will get this week's episode. But in the comments, let us know if you have a kid that's already back in school, let us know how that's going. If you are a kid and you are back in school, let us know how that's going in the comments. But as we know, we are a food review show. What we are reviewing today, we are reviewing episode 2 of Barbecue Showdown. This is a TV show that you can find on Netflix, hosted by Michelle Butois. I hope I said her name right. Wonderful host. She hosts an assortment of things on Netflix. I do enjoy her as a host. So yeah, she's doing what she does best here on this show. Again, we are reviewing episode 2 of season 3. The judges for this show is Melissa Cookson and Kevin Bledsoe. We have right now we have the contestants: Shatika, Kent, Gerald, Stacy, Kareem, Luis. We lost Tongue the first episode. We still have Sloan, and we have Melissa. All right. So this week's episode is BBQing, barbecuing with beer. Now, I don't really have, I do a lot of barbecuing during the summer. I actually barbecue throughout the whole year, to be honest with you. I have not used beer. So this has inspired me to actually come up with a recipe of my own using beer that we will probably drop on at Normals Be Chefing on all platforms. Be sure to follow us on all platforms. But I'll probably, in the coming weeks, have a couple of beer recipes that I might be dropping. But yes, they are cooking with beer. They are joined by 6-time barbecue world champion, classic trained chef, the Professor, Tuffy Stone. All right. And they have about 4 hours. They have to create a full barbecue meal. They have to use 2 proteins, 2 beer techniques, and 2 sides. All right. Now that might sound a little easy, especially if you're used to cooking with beer. But again, some of these barbecuers are outside of their elements. Last week we had Melissa, who had an issue with forgetting to use wood in her smoker and things like that. So we're going to see how this went. Now, immediately, off rip, Sloan is like, yo, I can't do this. I ain't going to be able to do this. Why? Because I don't drink beer. I don't like beer. I don't even know what I'm going to do with the beer. I've never done this before. So off rip, Sloan was having a hard time. But again, these competitions, you got to go with what you know. Hopefully she can pull it out. Now, the judges this round, they did not want the traditional, just stick a can of beer in a chicken and smoke it and come up with a dish like that. No, they wanted the contestants to think outside the box. They wanted to see how they can incorporate it into their sides. Just really don't go for the simple, okay, we put a can of beer in a chicken and you have that taste. You have that beer taste. No, they wanted to see how these contestants were going to be creative. Now, off rip, Shatika grabbed the lamb and the hen. I've never known anyone to cook lamb and beer, but you know what? Shatika, the queen of bougie, I have all the faith that she could come up with a good dish. She chose to use a lager for her IPA. She chose an IPA. Contestants were able to choose between lagers and IPAs. She chose my brother's favorite beer, which is Blue Moon. I too enjoy a good Blue Moon. I'm not gonna lie, I am a Corona guy. I do like a good Corona, nice cold Corona, but I do enjoy a Blue Moon every now and again. That is my brother's favorite beer. Tuffy talks about creating a brine, and it needs to be done in a fast pace. So again, they only have 4 hours. Normally, when traditional barbecuing, this setup alone could take 4 hours. You may want to sit there and brine your chicken or brine your meat for 4 hours. Like you want it to really tenderize and get that flavor into your protein. This is going to have to be done a little bit faster because you only have 4 hours, and then you still have to smoke it or cook it, whatever way they choose to do it. So Tuffy's advice was like, just automatically just start with the brine, get that protein in the brine so it can, soak up those juices. Kent is adding lemons to his beer to create his 2-hour brine. He said it's going to speed up the process. The acidity of the lime or the lemon will speed up the process for his brine. I thought that was a good choice. I think I may try that when I'm trying to do quick brines for my barbecue. Kareem is making a beer brine for his turkey. And what he did was he decided to remove the skin of the turkey. Now, I don't know how good of an idea that is. Me personally, To me, turkey, the best part of the turkey is the skin, that nice crispy skin, especially when you smoke it. I don't know if you guys ever had smoked turkey before. I do it every Thanksgiving. That crispy skin with all that flavor on it, I enjoy it. So we're going to see how Kareem turns out removing the skin. Get that he wanted to increase the time that he had or make it faster for his brine to work, but we're going to see. We're going to see. We're going to see. All right, then we have our good friend Gerald. Gerald is the guy I'm rooting for. I believe he's from Louisiana. I just like his cooking style. Gerald is making a brine out of beer and apple juice. Now, he is a backyard barbecuer, and as soon as he said apple juice, I don't know if you guys do it. I do. I use I brine, or I even base with apple juice. I just think it's a good. When I do a lot of smoking on my gas grill. Yes, I do smoke on a gas grill. I do have a pit, but there are times where I just don't feel like using the pit. I use the gas grill, and then what I do is to smoke it, just like one of the lighters, and then put the wood chips on top of that lighter in a little foil, and then you put your protein on top of the grill. Underneath it, I will probably have like a little small bucket of apple juice to keep the meat moist. That sounds weird. All right, but Gerald is making a baby back. He's doing baby back ribs. One of my favorite cuts of meat. He's also going to do like a cheese battered curd. And then he's going to infuse some sweet potatoes with some sweet IPAs. We're going to see. Hopefully, that turns out well for him. This competition, as we said earlier, Melissa last competition forgot to put her wood chips or her pieces of wood in her fire and to smoke. Judges kind of penalized her for that. This competition, that was one of the first things she did. She's like, I'm not going to forget this time. So that's good for her. She decided to use Miller Lite for her brine. She chose pork loin, and she's going to do she's also using creating like a red ale apple barbecue sauce. Sounds good. She also chose the flank steak. We're going to see how well that turned out for her. Not really. I am not really a fan of grilling flank steak unless you have 100% attention on that flank steak, because flank steak is thin, especially on an open fire. It can cook. It could go way left real quick. I'm not a fan of flank steaks. I don't mind it, but unlike like a steak or chicken and certain things like that, you really don't want to walk away. You don't want to walk away or be doing multiple things with that flank steak. You really want to keep an eye on that temperature, because too much heat, it can make it could go hard real fast. Your steak could be overcooked, I should say, real fast. And if you're not paying attention to time, you can undercook it. So we're going to see what happens with Melissa and her flank steak. Hopefully she makes some good choices there. Sloan, after tasting a few beers, she went with the one that she said she had before and tastes the best that she can possibly go with at that time. She chooses an Irish red beer, and it was more on the sweeter side. And what she chose to do was use it for basically all of her meals, which to me kind of smart. I don't think it can. The only way it can hurt is if you use too much of it and it's overpowering. But to me, if you want that consistency in your dishes, you want to create a cohesive barbecue meal, it's not a bad idea to use the same beer. Just use it in different ways, but it'll give you that consistency of flavor. So I think that was a smart idea on Sloan's part. This competition, Luis said he was trying to be a little bit more focused. Luis was doing a lot last competition. He does a lot of trying to infuse his culture or his family, like maybe his wife's culture, things like that. And I think at times it's hard to dial it back when you have so many ideas. I think he means well, but I think he needs to focus more on the actual dish. Last episode, he was doing a lot with creating so many different dishes that he forgot or he took too long to put his steak in the smoker, ended up being underdone. Didn't turn out the way he wanted to. He was running around trying to get the tortillas done and all that. Put in red hot chili peppers in one of the dishes to where one of the judges was like, this is too hot. So I think he needs, hopefully this competition, he scales it back. He's going to do like a coffee rub baby back ribs. I believe he's also going to do a bean mole, barbecue sauce, bean chili, and a honey beer bread. So hey, hopefully he has 4 hours. Hopefully he can get it done in time. Now we are at the 30-minute mark. All right, 30-minute mark. And the judges start walking around. They start checking on the competitors, and they go to check on Melissa's dish. Melissa used almost every type of beer. That was crazy. She was like, she used different beers for different dishes. Tuffy's face was like, it could work, but he was like, it's not a lot of time for her to be trying out too many different ideas. Tuffy, he likes her idea, but he worries that it's too many, and it won't be cohesive. You have all these different flavors, and you're trying to create one meal. You want the meal to flow cohesively. So they were worried about that, especially that she was cooking her meat caveman style. Now, for those who don't know what caveman style is, all that is over open fire. If you don't have experience in doing this, I wouldn't recommend you starting off caveman style. You have to learn how to control the fire, control that heat. Not really the way I would have went with her, especially with a flank steak. But that's what she chose to do. Then we have Stacy, whose background is a butcher. She learned from her dad. Her dad learned from his dad. I think it was passed on couple of generations. Need that water. Shout out Tony Baker. She also decided to do a pork tenderloin. She's also doing like a beer hummus, beer bread, beer cheese with potato wedges. She's actually doing a lot. I don't know if it's the fact that the time that the contestants are getting is throwing them off. You know, when you watch a traditional cooking show, you normally get like 30 minutes, maybe an hour, 45 minutes, but they're getting hours. And in my opinion, I feel like they're saying, oh, well, you know, I have 4 hours to create this dish. I can do a lot of different things. And I think one thing they're going to have to learn how to do is, yeah, you have to do 2 proteins, 2 sides, use 2 beer techniques, but you don't have to create 50 different things. Scale it back. I kind of, like I said, kind of like what Sloan was doing. Scale it back. I know you have hours, but we saw last week that a lot of people had hours and they spent hours messing up, focusing on things they weren't supposed to. But hey, we're gonna see if this works out for Stacy. It may not. We're gonna see. And I meant to say 30 minutes in. Now we're at the 3-hour mark. Kareem and Gerald decide to start smoking their protein. Right on the money. Now, one thing about Gerald is he loves to listen to the blues while he barbecues. He likes to sit outside. That's mainly his process, especially when you're smoking your protein. I enjoy the process of smoking protein because it's a slow process. I love to go outside, especially on a nice day where it's shade. You know, throw that meat on the grill, on a smoker. You know it's going to take a couple hours. Bring out a bottle of a good bottle of tequila, some lime, and a nice circle ice, and just sit out there, watch some podcasts, enjoy the just time, or just sit out and just watch nature. So I posed the question: what is your favorite thing to do while barbecuing? Is it the actual process of getting set up? Are you able to chill? Like, what is your process for barbecuing? Let us know in the comments below. What is your process? Now, here we come with Shatika, I should say. She's making a bougie mop sauce. For those who don't know, there's a process of when you are barbecuing or smoking, the way you add your sauce to the protein is actually you use like a mop, a literal mop, or a cooking mop. You would dip it into the sauce and you would kind of like just drench the protein with the sauce. So she was creating a bougie mop sauce for her proteins. Sloan is creating a beer-inspired barbecue sauce that she will use as a glaze. And again, she's using that Irish red IP that she found. Luis talked about a time when he was using chili or cutting up chili and he used the bathroom. Was not a good experience. It sounds like Luis does a lot when cooking. But he's a good dude. This time, using the chilies, he's removing the seeds because he learned from his mistakes when Coach or Judge Melissa did not agree with how hot he was making his food. I mean, come on, I get it. I get your culture has the spice and things like that, but this is a competition and you are cooking for the judges. So I'm glad he recognized his mistakes and decided to take them chili seeds out. Now, the judges were worried about Luis because once again, he is starting to do too much. He had several different items for his dishes, and then he wanted to incorporate his wife's culture and things like that. And they didn't know if he would have enough time to pull it off. I think he did. He was doing a mole, and mole actually takes hours, and he was going to do it in a short amount of time. So they were getting a little worried. Next, we have Melissa, who was worried about her panna cotta setting. So her dessert, she decided to do a dessert. Her dessert was going to be a panna cotta. I think she took too long putting it together. It wasn't setting properly. First of all, I believe she overcooked. It burnt at first, or she overcooked it. I could be wrong. But then when she got the recipe right, she put it in the refrigerator. I think she didn't have enough time, and it actually did not set. So she was just going to go with what she had, which was probably, if you haven't made panna cotta, I've made panna cotta. It's like a vanilla gelatin type dessert. And you put it in a ramekin or a bowl, and it really you want it to firm up. So when you take it out of the ramekin, kind of sits about 3 to 4 inches up and looks all nice and beautiful, and you can top it. If it doesn't set properly, you could get something that maybe kind of set and it'll look smashed or like yogurt. It'll just be too liquefied to put on a plate. Gerald is going to do caveman style for his potatoes over an open fire. He just has to make sure he keeps an eye on those potatoes. He doesn't want them to burn. Sloan, midway through the competition, she starts to look a little flush. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was the beer making her sick, but she had to stop for a while, and she almost had to decide if she wanted to keep cooking. Like, she got real sick. You could just see her face. She looked like she was fighting, and she looked like she was just about to throw up all over the place. But she did get medical attention. Shout out to the med staff on the show. They were able to get her back upright. She was able to continue on. She just had to make up some time. That's what she burned. 2 hours at the 2 hour mark, Melissa noticed that her beer caramel, she made a caramel sauce that she would drizzle over the panna cotta, that burnt. So she tried to remake it, I think 2 more times, but it just wasn't working. So she started to panic. She had to nix that. All in all, Melissa was not having the best of times during this competition. When she went to go put her flank steak over in the fire, caveman style, she measured incorrectly her time, and it actually was still raw. She thought it was cooked, but then when she cut into it, it was still raw. So she was not having the best of times during this competition. Luis also started to struggle, doing too much, not paying attention. He noticed that his grill crept up to about 300, over 300 degrees. When you are cooking ribs, especially when you're slow cooking them, you want to keep them at a temperature between 220, 250. That's what you want to slow cook them on. If you want those fall off the bone ribs, that's what you want. And he wasn't paying attention, and his temperature flew up, which made his ribs overcooked, could be chewy, and yeah. So all in all, it was a crazy competition, and we're going to find out who won and who lost. They did throw a wrench into it, though. Not only did they have the judges critiquing their food, but they had to also critique their own food. They had to give a grade for their own food. And the judges will let them know, hey, yeah, you were right on the money, or yeah, you far from where you thought you were supposed to be at. All right, now starting off with Gerald. Gerald had the baby back ribs with beer and applesauce brine, beer battered cheese curds, IPA beer infused sweet potatoes, and a beer brownie. Gerald overall was happy with the outcome of his product. He said he could have did better on the dry ribs, but the judges said he killed it. They thought the ribs were spot on. Everything was spot on. They could taste the beer and the sweet potatoes. It was smart to use an IPA, and the batter for his cheese curds was on point. Overall, he gave himself a B, and I think they thought he did beyond that. Next, we have Melissa, contestant Melissa. She made pork loins with a red ale applesauce, apple barbecue sauce, flank steak, roasted poblanos with a beer cheese cream sauce, charred corn risotto, and a cinnamon panna cotta. Overall, Melissa gave herself a C. She was aware of her dish, that it didn't come out the way she wanted it to, and the judges agreed. The steak was seasoned and smoked, but the fat didn't render. If you know anything about cooking it down, you don't want that fat to be chewy. You want it to render down, have that nice salty flavor. She had a good cook on her tenderloin, but did too much with the sides. Again, gotta learn how to scale it back. Next, we have Shatika with her beer brine, Cornish hens, and lamb chops, beer mint gastrique, stout beer macaroni and cheese, and she also did a beer brownie. Shatika gave herself a B+, and the judges said she was right on the money. They loved the seasonings on the chicken and the use of the beer and the cabbage. They thought she thought outside the box. Only thing that they weren't really feeling, that cake, that chocolate cake, that John wasn't really moist. It was a little dry. So that's the only thing they said about her dish. Sloan, again, beer spritz ribs with a beer glaze, beer brine chicken, beer battered onion rings, and beer bread. Now, Sloan gave herself a D. She had no confidence in herself whatsoever because, again, she doesn't drink beer. She doesn't like the taste of beer, so it's hard for her to come up with these dishes. Then she got sick. She had time taken away from her to try to get back into the mix. So overall, she gave herself a D. The judges disagreed wholeheartedly. They said that joint was spot on. The ribs were delicious, chicken, flavorful and crispy, and the beer takes it above and beyond. They loved her sauce. The onion rings were fluffy. The only thing that they said was the bread was a little dry, but she overall had a great dish. So she was like, what? This goes to show, never give up. Even when you face adversity, even when you think you are down and out, keep going. You never know. All right, Kareem. He did a Miller Lite braised turkey breast, lamb leg with beer chimichurri with a Mexican rice and borracho beans. And then he did dates and almonds blondie. Kareem gave himself a B, and the judges agreed. They loved his braised on the turkey and his Texas beans. That's pretty much all they said, but they agreed with him. Overall B. Luis had the coffee rub lager baby back ribs, beer brine baby back ribs with bean mole, a barbecue sauce, beer chili, and pulled pork honey beer bread. Luis gave himself a C. The judges stated that he had good flavor, but the texture of the mole made the ribs bitter. I do believe I remember one of the judges saying that, you just want to be careful with smoking or grilling protein or anything with like sugar or sweet barbecue sauce, because if done incorrectly, it can make the meat taste bitter. And that's what happened with Luis, especially since he overcooked it. The mole needed more time, but the bread was an A+. So that goes to show he was doing a little bit too much. Where your bread was an A+, but the rest of what counted the most didn't really work out for you. Man, you got to learn how to reel that in, man. Kent did a beer brine chicken, dry brine, sweet potato with beer, candied pecan and bacon with beer, cornbread, corn pudding, and a bread pudding. He did a lot. He gave himself a B+. Judges said Kent listened from last week. Pork was on point, like the sauce with the hint of beer, but the sweet potatoes were bland. Corn pudding was on point, though. Stacy, she did the beer marinated pork tenderloin, lamb with soy glaze, beer glaze, or soy ginger beer glaze, beer hummus, beer bread, beer cheese with the potato wedges, beer bread pudding with a pomegranate drizzle. Yo, let me tell you, those were a lot of words, and that was a lot of beer. I don't know if I want to have that much beer. Stacy gave herself a B. And I think the judges thought this was a little bit better than a B. They said the tenderloin was cooked perfectly. The only thing is it was too much beer in her sauce. It was a little overpowering. But her lamb was cooked well, but it just lacked flavor. But it was a brilliant move for her adding the beer into her beer cheese sauce. So overall, I think, again, she was doing a lot. I think if she would have scaled it back, she would have had probably one of the best dishes out there. But overall, there can be winners and there will be losers. So the winner, or I should say winners of this competition, was Sloan and Gerald. Congratulations, Sloan and Gerald, for winning this week's episode, or episode 2 of Barbecue Showdown. Again, Sloan thought she wasn't going to be able to do good off rip. She just had a negative connotation going into the competition, but was able to pull off the victory. And Gerald is just like that cool, easygoing, I know, I'm confident, I know what I'm doing type guy, and was able to pull out a win. So shout out to you guys for winning this competition. But when the win comes, the losses, I should say, follow. Sadly, the losers of this competition were Melissa and Luis, the two people that do not know how to scale it back. But there's only one true loser. There's only one person going home. And I'm not going to lie. As I was typing up my notes, I actually listed Melissa as the loser before they announced it. In my mind, I'm like, Luis definitely did too much, but I felt like he had good notes in his meal that actually were better than Melissa. But yeah, unfortunately, this competition had to say goodbye to Florida's own Melissa. I'm sorry. No, we kept Melissa. I don't know. Sorry, Melissa. I don't know why I wanted you to lose this week, but we kept Melissa, and we had to say goodbye to Chicago's own Luis. I personally enjoy watching Luis cook. I like his personality. I think he's only been doing this for about 4 years, so he has plenty of time. He's a young one, so he has plenty of time to grow into um, a better barbecuer, pitmaster. He did good. He did good. I just, again, if he could scale it back a little bit, not do too much. I think what happens is, since we are a person that doesn't have a lot of experience, they feel like they have to overdo it to display it. Where if you see someone like Kent or Gerald, they're not really doing them. They're really following the fundamental basics of a pitmaster. They may do a little tweaks here and there, but what they're trying to do is be consistent. And I think Luis has time to grow that. Luis, I'll have fun watching you. Hopefully we could get you on the podcast so we could talk about your experience on that show. All right. But guys, this has been another episode of the Food We Watch podcast. Hey, summer is coming to an end, and I'm just trying to get this podcast back into the flow of things. I know we didn't have an episode last week. We had one the week before. Again, a lot of things going on, but we're trying to be as consistent as possible with not only this podcast, but with the other TV show, with the other content, like the Food We Watch podcast, Watchers React, which is a reaction show. We also got the recipes, and we got a couple more things that we're going to be working on. If you are in the Philadelphia area, Philadelphia, Delaware County, or Delaware State, between Claymont and Wilmington, we are doing another Platter Day, September 7th. The form is out there. The form is in the bio for @NormalsBeChefing on Instagram. It's also on Facebook. You can hit me up directly, or you can ask for the link in the comments. If you're in the area, we are doing shish kebabs. We're doing chicken, steak, shrimp kebabs, or trio. We're also doing teriyaki chicken in a pineapple bowl. Very delicious. Prices are affordable. Each platter comes with a can of soda, and then we're going to do our traditional sides. If you want to also purchase sides, make sure if you order, you definitely order some of that sweet potato pie, our world famous sweet potato pie. Also, our world famous seafood pasta salad. My mama make that pasta salad, and then my wife make the pie. Both are good. So make sure you support. Again, Platter Day is September 7th, 2024. It's a Saturday. We are taking pre-orders only. Orders will close September 5th. If you don't have your order in by September 5th, your order does not and will not exist. But again, I appreciate the ones who have been watching, who continue to watch. What we ask for you to do is, hey, comment in the chat. Let us know who you are. We see the numbers, we see them increase from time to time, but we don't know who you are. Let us know in the comments who you are. Let us know what you like to see. Again, once this show is over, we're going to be looking for another show to watch. We will watch what you tell us to watch. So if you let us know, hey, I like this show, we'll try to incorporate that into the podcast. We want this to be as interactive as possible. But again, I've been your host, Nextstop Sirchcity. Make sure you like, share, subscribe on all platforms. Before we go, I got to let you know that good things come and good things go. Life is like a box of chocolate. Summertime over, y'all. That shit still be melting though. I holla.